Hello everyone, this is Jamie. Let's make a servo patch. Here's the example. This patch has 4 different layers that are working together. One is main pitch that controls the body of the sound. And the second one, high pitch noise, that adds that machinery, kind of cold, a lot of frequencies, buzzing. And then rattle and buzz, which provides the texture to the sound. And lastly, we have the simple mechanical sound effects. Rattle and buzz are hooked up to macro 2 and 3 to control the volume. And of course, macro 1 is going to control the size of the servo that we're making. Alright, so let's start by clicking on the new patch over here. Click, and we're going to create a wavetable oscillator. A wavetable has a group of different waveforms lined up like this. So as I'm moving up and down, we go from sine to triangle to sawtooth to square like this. And you can also see the frame number changing. So frames are basically the same as waveforms over here. And a cool way to use wavetable synthesizer is to hook it up to an LFO like this. And if I play it, it can create a much more complex and interesting sounds to it. So that's why I like using wavetable synthesizer for realistic sound designs like this. However, for this patch, we're not going to use that fun trick. Instead, we're going to focus more on using a specific frame to achieve specific sounds. So to start, we're going to use Break Me preset like this. Play it. Pretty harsh, so I'm going to lower the level a little bit. And then we're going to lower the bass pitch 2 octaves down so that this oscillator can be the main body pitch. Like that. And then we're going to change the frame to 108. So for the frame number, you can obviously choose whatever you like. And as you can hear, it sounds very, very different. But I just chose 108 because it sounded the best to me. And I'm going to add a distortion. Just so it has a little bit more zing and pep. And filter. And we're going to set it up as low pass filter, but barely cutting off anything. I'm just setting this up right now, even though we're not going to be using it for the small servo, but to make modulation easier later on for the large one. And then now I'm going to add a little bit of attack time and release time so that it has a little bit of delay to reach to the peak and then to the bottom. So now we're going to create an LFO. Something like this. And obviously you can make it a little bit more complex if you would like that. But I recommend not having it very drastically different because we're going to be modulating frequencies using this LFO. And we're going to give it just a tiny amount, like 3%, but you will be able to hear how much difference it makes. Like that. But that's a little bit too fast, so why don't I reduce it like that. Then I'm going to change the loop pattern to off so that when we reach to the end, it just stays at this value. Yeah, there you go. Okay, next we're going to make the high pitch noise. Press down the control key, drag it all the way down like that. then it duplicates what we just made. I'm going to change the name of the group over here to high pitch noise. And I'm going to reset the bass pitch over here. And play it. It's really high and harsh, so I'm going to lower the frequency rate a little bit. That's pretty good to me. And now we're going to add rattle and buzz sound. Same thing, wavetable over here. Rename it rattle and buzz. And for this one, we're going to use the EQ preset like that. Change the frame to 72. And let's actually mute the first two oscillators just so we can hear this better. So already it has pretty good buzzy sound that we want. I'm going to lower the volume just a tiny bit and lower the semitone. And then raise the harmonics. So this way you can actually hear both the low end and high end buzzing at the same time together. And then I'm going to make another LFO. You can totally use our main LFO for this thing, but this way you are going to be able to add a little bit slightly different movement for your rattle sounds. And then I'm going to add it over here. Same thing, let's lower the rate a little bit and change the loop pattern. Maybe that's a little bit too dramatic. But we'll see how it sounds like with the whole thing. And then we're going to add another EQ oscillator. Same thing, hold control and drag. Lower the level a little bit. And for this one, we're going to change it to negative 25 semitone. And then lower the harmonics again to just 1. Lower the frequencies. And I'm actually going to get rid of this thing. So then you can hear the rattle sound. That hopefully is going to trick our mind and ears, thinking that there are things rattling inside. My buzz doesn't have to be that loud. There you go. And I'm going to add a filter. And choose this type of filter. And have the cutoff around 870 Hertz. Alright. That's pretty good. Next is the mechanical sound effects. For this one, I'm going to use the triple preset, frame 225, and then we're gonna take it down to -40 semitone, and then play it. Let me mute this for you. Okay, and then we're going to add distortion. Let's do feedback. Because I wanted to cut through a lot, especially for the large servo. However, we're just focusing on the small servo for now, so I'm going to add a high-pass filter. Like that. Yeah, somewhere around here is fine. And of course, when I'm holding down the button, I don't want it to keep playing this sound the whole time. So I'm going to adjust the envelope. Like that. Okay. And I'm going to hook up a random module. Make it super fast. And then I'm just going to lower the range a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it up to both semitone over here, just a teeny tiny bit, and decay amount over here. So this way it's automatically going to create some variations to this really simple sounding sound effect. And because we hooked it up on decay over here, sometimes it's going to be 3 syllables, sometimes it's going to be 2, 1. So yeah, it's a simple trick to make things sound interesting. Of course, you can add more oscillators and more parameter modulations to make it a bit more complex, but for now, we're just going to keep it simple. So now, I'm going to listen to all of them and see if I have to adjust anything. Mix-wise. I'm gonna have the rattle a little bit higher. Cool. And then before we move on, I'm going to set macro 2 and 3 right now. I'm going to have both of them set at noon. The reason for it is because I want the intended volume of both mechanical sound effects and rattle to play at noon, so that if you want more of it, you can always go more beyond noon, and then vice versa. So for macro 2, I'm going to set it up as the mechanical sound effects, macro 3 to rattle and buzz, and then I'm actually going to lower the gain all the way down here, hook it up to the macro, and give it 100% raise. So if you look at over here, as I'm moving the macro, you can see the volume changing. Same thing for rattle and buzz. Okay, let's check the mix. Maybe I want it to be slightly higher. Cool, and so yeah, this way you can make it louder like that. That. Okay. So, and then let's add an EQ quickly. So that's the small servo patch that we just made. Now let's make the large servo. We're going to set macro 1 to size. And we're going to use the same setup that we used, except just adding a few more oscillators. So for this one, we're going to use squished preset. And for the large, we're going to lower the level all the way down and then hook it up to the size over here. So when we are changing the size, it activates the new oscillators. Like that. Okay. So we are going to hook this up to our main LFO again. Maybe let's give it 10% for this one. And we're going to check it out. Maybe I'm going to lower bass frequency quite a bit. Sure, that sounds pretty good. So here's the important thing to note. Depending on the LFO that you set, your patch for large servo might sound drastically different. That means you might have to set your own value for a shift over here. My advice for it is just use your ears and try to make it not super in tune so that you can't really hear anything, but also not super dissonant that it just sounds crap. I hope that helps. Okay, and then we're going to hook up the size macro to cutoff over here, and we're going to take it all the way down over here. There you go. Maybe I'm gonna make it a little bit louder. And then another fun trick is to add an extreme LFO, something like this, the gradient, and hook it up to the shift, but I'm just gonna give it just a tiny bit, 3%, and I'm going to make it super fast. So I just soloed and got rid of the cutoff amount so I can show you how this LFO works. So without it, it sounds pretty normal, but with the LFO, it actually kind of creates this almost dissonant phase. And it also creates this variation. Sometimes it's the dissonant harmonics are wah 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 wah, but then sometimes it's faster. That, and it just sounds like it's multiplying, like thickening up the sound. There you go. So now let's add another wavetable right underneath. Don't forget the envelope, otherwise you're not gonna hear the sound. So for this one, we're going to use Cloud preset. Lower the level all the way down, hook it up to macro 1, and then raise the volume. For this one, I actually want even lower sound to support the movement over here. So I'm going to add a filter like that. Okay, that's good. And then I'm actually going to hook it up to the frequency just a tiny bit. Oh, that's a little too much. Now, let's listen to it with everything else for now. Sounds pretty good. And then for the rattle and buzz sound, we're going to create another oscillator wavetable. And this time we're going to use crunch. Same thing, all the way down to level 0%. And we're going to add the shift amount over here. Maybe let's give it 5%, why not? And then, and you can hear it actually, let me mute all the other oscillators for you, like that. You can hear a very nice, like low hum almost. Yeah. Okay, and then we are also going to adjust the cutoff amount over here so that we have a little more coverage in the crunch oscillator. There we go. Okay, and then we're gonna turn it all up again. Don't worry about the dissonance, we're going to tune it later on. But for now, we're going to lastly hook up the cutoff amount again over here so that we have a bigger mechanical sound effects coming up. Okay, so that's basically the basic setup of it. Now the complicated part is that you need to use your ears to tune the large servo oscillators, because right now sounds pretty terrible. So just give me 1 second to tune it a bit. Tune it a little bit. Alright, here's the tuned result. So chances are my patch and your patch are sounding pretty different. In fact, this patch and the demo patch sound pretty different as well, and that's because we're using different LFO values. That means you can play around with your own LFO to create more dynamic patch or make it a little bit more static, add more oscillators to make it fuller, whatever that you want. Another bonus idea I have for you is to utilize these amazing effects made by Kilohertz. For example, you can hook up the reverb to the size macro like so. Then you can suggest the sense of space for the large servo, maybe not this much. Versus 0 for the small one. Alright, so that's about it. I hope you had fun. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below in the comments section. Thank you!